What the heck is a Section 199A dividend? Hi, this is financial planner Sean Mullaney. Let's discuss. So you might be watching this in early 2024 and you're thinking, all right, I got to prepare my 2023 federal income tax return. And I get these 1099 DIVs in the mail or maybe on my financial institution internet portal. And they report the dividends I get from mutual funds, ETFs, stocks. And so, we know, okay, we got to pay some tax on that. We got to put that on our tax return. Then we're going through this 1099 DIV and we see this box 5. Let me blow that up for you a little bit. And it says Section 199A dividends. Well, what the heck is a Section 199A dividend? Nobody taught me what that was in school. Here's what they are. There are these things called real estate investment trusts, REITs. A lot of mutual funds, a lot of ETFs own them. And what happens is they pay dividends, and those dividends, sometimes referred to as REIT dividends, sometimes referred to as 199A, Section 199A dividends, those get separately reported on this Form 1099 DIV. They also form the basis for a tax deduction. So it's very important when you're doing your federal income tax return that any number in this box 5 gets entered into the software, because that could set you up to make sure you claim a tax deduction you're entitled to. All right, so we see that Section 199A dividends, my little example here, it's $1,000. Well, where does that show up on your tax return? For most folks, it's going to show up on line 6 of something called the Form 8995. There, you see it. For some people, it's going to be a Form 8995-A, 8995A, but for many, it's just going to be this 8995. And what you do is on line 6, you put in the sum total of all the box 5s on all your 1099 DIVs, right? If you got 4 of them and they all have an amount in that box 5, make sure they all get in there. And then you have this form. It goes through the 2 main lines that you got to be worried about are line 6, make sure all those box 5 amounts get into this line 6. And then line 15, I'm assuming this person has no business income, nothing like that, no self-employment. So when they do this, they get a $200 deduction for the $1,000 of Section 199A dividends. What the 199A dividend does is it entitles you to a 20% deduction for that amount. So that's a good thing, and we want to make sure that's captured on the tax return. So that line 15 shows you the qualified business income deduction. It's a fancy name. But know this, it's basically 20% of the 199A dividends. I'm assuming we have no special situations, no self-employment. All right, well, that's a good thing. We take a tax deduction on our tax return. Where do we put it on the Form 1040? Well, on the regular Form 1040, it goes in line 13. This is the 1040. There you go for 2023. In my example, that $200 deduction from $89.95 goes on line 13. So we make sure that that is reflected there. Well, there's some things you should be keeping in mind about these Section 199A deductions. It could be a little tricky, but it's actually not so bad. So the first thing to keep in mind on the 199A dividends deduction is you don't need to be in a trade or business to claim the qualified business income deduction for these 199A dividends. Now, you do need to be in a trade or business for self-employment issues and things like that. But for these 199A dividends, you could sit back, just watch Netflix all day. That's fine for claiming the qualified business income deduction for these 199A dividends. No income limit on the ability to claim the qualified business income deduction for Section 199A dividends. This is an important point, and it's sort of 2 points. One is, for the Section 199A dividends themselves, you don't have to worry about your income, right? You can make $1 billion and you can get this 20% deduction for the 199A dividends. Well, wait a minute, I heard the qualified business income deductions income limited. Well, you heard correctly, but that's as applied to self-employment, to business income. These are dividends, different thing. If you got your own business, you're a partner in a business, these sorts of things, you got to think about income limits. But for the 199A dividends, don't worry about your income. Just not a thing. You get it if you have $1 billion of income or $20 of income. All right. Taxpayers get the qualified business income deduction regardless of whether they claim the standard deduction or they claim itemized deductions. This is a funky one too, but it's really good news. What this means is this. You can itemize and claim the qualified business income deduction, no problem there. But what if you're like most Americans, you don't itemize, you take the standard deduction? Well, guess what? You too get the qualified business income deduction. You don't have to do itemized deductions to get this deduction. It's a unique deduction in that regard. Doesn't matter if you itemize, you take the standard, you get the qualified business income deduction for these 199A dividends regardless of that decision. So that's good to know. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please mash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.